The first time I taught players who would go on to the NFL, I made every mistake possible. I overcomplicated my sequences. I used language they didn't understand. I tried to impress them with my expertise instead of serving their actual needs. And I almost lost the opportunity entirely. Here's what happened and what I learned that changed everything. I'm Sage Rountree, and I've been teaching yoga to athletes for over 20 years, including Division I college teams that produce NFL talent. But I didn't start out knowing what I was doing. Today, I'm sharing my biggest early mistakes so you don't have to make the same ones. By the end of this video, you'll understand the common mistakes yoga teachers make with elite athletes, why trying to impress actually backfires, and the simple approach that actually works. These lessons apply whether you're teaching future professionals or weekend warriors. Let me set the scene. I had been invited to teach the UNC football team. These were elite athletes. Some would go on to play in the NFL. I was terrified and wanted to prove I belonged there. So I designed an incredibly complex football-specific sequence. I researched which muscles different positions used. I created elaborate progressions targeting hip mobility for linebackers, shoulder stability for quarterbacks, ankle flexibility for running backs. I had anatomical cues memorized for every movement. I walked into that locker room, and yes, I taught in the actual locker room for many years, with my detailed plan ready to impress. Here's what happened. The athletes were confused. They couldn't follow my complicated transitions. They didn't understand my anatomical terminology. Instead of feeling helped, they felt frustrated. I was so focused on demonstrating my expertise that I forgot to actually serve their needs. I was teaching for me, to prove I belonged, not for them. Here's the lesson. Elite athletes don't need complex yoga. They need simple practices they can actually use. The more sophisticated your athlete, the simpler your teaching should be. Save the elaborate sequences for yoga practitioners. Athletes need accessible, practical tools. My second mistake was using yoga language instead of their language. I'd say things like ground through your sit bones, find length in your side body, engage your bandhas. The players would look at me like I was speaking a foreign language, because I was. These athletes had never taken a yoga class. They didn't know what sit bones meant. Bandhas might as well have been Martian. And they definitely weren't interested in learning yoga vocabulary. I was asking them to learn my language instead of speaking theirs. That's backwards. It's my job to communicate in terms they understand, not their job to learn yoga terminology. Here's what works instead. Feel your weight in your heels, stretch through your side, tighten your core like you're about to take a hit. Same concepts, but in language athletes actually understand. Even better, you can focus on outcomes they care about. This helps you recover faster between practices. This prevents the shoulder injuries linemen get. This improves your focus before games. Now I'm speaking their language, the language of athletic performance. My third mistake was the underlying problem behind the first two. I was trying to impress rather than to serve. I wanted these elite athletes to see me as an expert. I wanted to prove I deserved to be in that locker room. I wanted them to think, wow, this yoga teacher really knows her stuff. But here's the thing, they didn't care about my expertise. They cared about feeling better. They cared about recovering faster. They cared about performing better on Saturday. When you're focused on impressing people, you make everything about yourself. You show off your language, you use fancy terminology, you design complex sequences to demonstrate your skill. But when you're focused on serving people, you make everything about them. You ask what they need. You use language they understand. You keep things simple enough that they actually get the benefits. The shift from impressing to serving changed everything for me. I stopped trying to prove I belonged and started focusing on actually helping. And paradoxically, that's when athletes started truly respecting my work. Let me tell you about the moment everything shifted. A few sessions in, I was still struggling with my complicated approach. The players were showing up. Well, they had to show up, but I could tell they weren't getting much from the sessions. Then one day, a linebacker looked up at me from the floor and said, "Hey, Coach Sage, can we just do breathing and Shavasana?" My first instinct was panic. I had this elaborate plan. I was supposed to impress them with football-specific sequences. Just breathing and rest? That seemed too simple. But I looked around and really saw these athletes. They were exhausted. They'd been pushed and analyzed and optimized all day. They didn't need more complexity. They needed permission to rest. So I threw out my plan. We spent the entire session on simple breathing and restorative rest. No complex poses, no anatomical cues, just basic practices that anyone could do. And afterward, the players thanked me with genuine gratitude. One said his shoulders hadn't relaxed like that in months. They were excited for me to come back. That was the day I learned my value to athletes isn't in impressing them with complexity. It's in serving them with simplicity. It's in providing what they actually need, not what I think will make me look good. So here's what actually works with elite athletes. Keep it simple. The more elite the athlete, the simpler your teaching should be. They don't need fancy yoga. They need practical tools. Speak their language. Use terms they understand. Focus on outcomes they care about: performance, recovery, injury prevention. Serve, don't impress. Make it about them, not about proving yourself. Ask what they need, listen, and respond. Trust the basics. Breathing, simple movement, rest. These fundamentals are powerful. Don't underestimate them because they seem too easy. When I finally embraced this approach, everything changed. I went from struggling to connect with athletes to becoming an essential part of their training programs. If you want to learn the complete system for teaching athletes effectively, avoiding the mistakes I made, and fast-tracking to what actually works, I've created a free workshop called How to Double Your Income Teaching Yoga to Athletes. In it, I share everything I've learned from 20 plus years of teaching elite athletes, so you don't have to learn the hard way like I did. The link is in the description below. Remember, my biggest mistakes with NFL caliber athletes came from trying to impress instead of to serve. Overcomplicating, using wrong language, making it about me instead of them. When I shifted to simplicity, service, and speaking their language, that's when everything changed. The same will be true for you. If my mistakes can help you avoid yours, please like this video and subscribe for more honest stories from 20 years of teaching athletes. Drop a comment. What mistake are you worried about making with athletes? Let's talk about it.